Hi, Mark here. I trust you're well. Welcome to this legacy recording of a live Lightroom support community event that I hosted back in February 2022. In this event, we looked at the user interface of Lightroom Classic along with catalogue settings, and we discussed this as a group. Now, please bear in mind, if you continue watching the recording, it was recorded in 2022 and technology's moved on, but also Classic and workflow and thinking has moved on. It's evolved as we evolve with our cameras and our individualities. I hope you enjoy this recording, and if you'd like to come and join us, just visit lightroommark.com/eventbrite and you'll see all my upcoming events, whether it's skills based or support sessions. I hope you have a great day, stay safe and happy photography. Bye for now. Okay, so we are starting the scratch with Lightroom Classic. And tonight I'll go through the user interface and the catalogue settings. And I'll go through each of them and explain what they do and advantages and disadvantages, etc. So, do we all know how to create a catalogue?
Yeah.
Yes, no, yes, yes, no. Okay, so no,
when
yeah.
you say create a catalogue, what do you mean?
Okay, so Lightroom is a catalogue. It's a database program, and you can have as many catalogues as you like. However, there's only one catalogue that can sync with the cloud. Okay, so if you wanted to share photographs with somebody or with customers or whatever, it has to go from that catalogue that you've synced in the cloud. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could have second, third, fourth, 10, 20, 30 catalogues, but only one of them will sync in the cloud with your mobile devices and allow you to share via Lightroom and Lightroom Classic with other people.
Do they take up the memory?
Yeah, of course we do.
The
Yeah. Okay, so they use space on your hard drive. So why would you want multiple catalogues? Well, in the old days with old clunky computers, if you had lots of images in there, it would take a little while to process them and things like that. However, with new super fast M1 Apple Macs that I've got here and so on,
Right.
you could, I've got 600,000 images in one catalogue.
Oh.
Okay, runs pretty fast. I could do with a little bit more RAM, but can't have any more RAM in my Mac Mini. It only comes with 16 gig. That's the most you can have. Waiting for the new one to come out to get more RAM. But it works perfectly fine. No problem at all. So realistically, you just have one catalogue and then you just organize it. You just, the right folders for the right type of images and put them all in one catalogue. However, I will show you how to create a catalogue. It's nice and simple. So we're in Lightroom, you go File, New Catalogue. And you just create a new catalogue. Put it on the same drive as what Lightroom is in. You call it whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to put it, that's totally up to you. But as long as it's on the same drive that what Lightroom is running, which will be your Macintosh or your C drive, okay? And you just create a new catalogue. Call it whatever you want to call it. This one currently is called Lightroom Catalogue version 11. So you see at the top here of the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the name of the catalogue. Okay. But you might want to keep family images and personal work images separate, but you can do that quite easily by just having folder structures. Right, so we're going to look at some catalogue settings and we're going to look at the user interface. Okay, and some settings for your catalogue. So on a PC, it should be under File, if I remember rightly. On a Mac, it's all under Lightroom Classic. So about Lightroom Classic tells you the version. So we're 11.2. And Lightroom and Photoshop uses the same engine, the same raw engine, which is Adobe Camera Raw. So it's the same computer processing and algorithms and so on. Both pieces of software, Photoshop and Lightroom, use. And we're at 14.2 is the latest at the moment. And what's the difference? Well, the only thing the difference is Lightroom is designed for photographers. So the terminology, the words are photography related, where Photoshop is more of a Swiss Army penknife for graphics designers. So that's about Lightroom Classic, top left-hand corner. And we come down to preferences. Now, this is quite an important menu here. This is general. This is where your main settings are. So what language? We're going to have English. Do we know what a splash panel is?
No.
Okay, so when you run, let me show you. If I untick it, okay, well, actually, if I keep it ticked, and then I'm going to exit Lightroom. Okay, so I'm now going to power up Lightroom Classic. And did you see that panel come up in the foreground?
Yeah.
So that's the splash panel.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just want to make sure that nobody's trying to attend. No, I can't see anybody trying to attend. Okay, so go back to preferences. So this tick box here gets rid of the splash panel. So you'll go straight into whatever your main module is, which is normally library. Then you can have this drop down here, default catalog. You can tell it, you can choose the path. So volume, images, Lightroom, mark. So this is my external SSD drive. Lightroom catalogs, and there's the catalog. It'll always, if I go down to the dock and click here, or if I go up to my Creative Cloud app, which I've just clicked on there, which is up at the top here, and if I just go open, it will open the catalog called this. Okay. So this is my main catalog for my training Lightroom. Now, show import dialog. So we've got some import options here. Show import dialog from memory card when detected. So if you plug a memory card in, it'll pop up automatically to import them. If you don't want that to happen, just untick the box. Okay. And then it will select current and previous import collections, okay, during import. Okay, so this will, whatever you've currently had imported, it will show that. Then we've got ignore camera generated folders. So it'll ignore the folders structures on your chip that you've plugged in there and just show you the images. Treat JPEG files next to RAW files separately. Now, if you've shot in your camera RAW plus JPEG, you can have them so they sit side by side on the chip, or you could set what they call overflow, which is backup, which is where they put all the files, one set of files, let's say RAW files on one card, and if you've got a camera that's got a second card, puts all the JPEGs on the other card. So why would you do that? Well, if you're a press photographer, time is important, so you would use the JPEGs to get those out quickly, and then perhaps 3 or 4 days later you would use the RAW files to do any post-processing, or a little bit later in the day or something like that. And this allows you to treat them on import JPEGs differently to RAW files, so it doesn't stack them side by side.
Sorry, can I interrupt you a minute? Yeah. Right, my compact only does JPEG, so would I?
That's fine. Doesn't matter. It doesn't apply.
Okay.
Only applies when your camera shoots JPEG and RAW, and you've got it set up so it shoots JPEG and RAW, and it does it together. Okay.
No, but my compact only does JPEG.
Yeah, it doesn't matter then, because the RAWs aren't equivalent.
Okay.
Okay, so some cameras, they will embed into a raw file a preview file. Okay, and this is where you can tell it to override that, and Lightroom will just take the raw file and not the preview. Okay, quicker on import. And then we've got some sound options. So when it's finished importing images, it'll go bing or whatever. You can actually record your own greeting in QuickTime, for example, and you can actually say, Lightroom has finished importing, and you would select that sound. Okay, and when it's finished importing, let's say you've gone away on holiday or whatever, or done a weekend shoot, got 2,000 images, you can actually get it to play that sound, and you go away and make a cup of tea, and all of a sudden out the speakers it'll go, Lightroom has finished importing, and it will say that. And then same with the others. So does everyone know what tethering is?
Sort of.
No.
Now, tethering is when you have a cable connected to your camera, and that's connected to Lightroom. So when you take a picture on your camera, it comes into Lightroom immediately. Okay, and you have a sound. Then you can have a sound, and then when it's finished exporting, you can have a sound as well. Okay, so they're all in here. Quite straightforward they are. Nice little button here, you can click here and it'll reset all the dialogues back to the factory default. So if we then come to the next presets, the next button. Okay, so we get raw presets about our camera. So when we import things from our camera, we can tell it to do particular things. So for example, with this camera here, we can tell it to have a preset. So every time I use that camera, I can tell it to apply this preset, and it does that automatically. As soon as I start importing from that camera, it will do that. And we can create our own presets. So if there's a particular style of image that you like, you have, I'll increase the contrast by 10%, increase the vibrance by 10%, increase the sharpening by 30%. It will do that automatically on importing. You do not have to worry. And if you've got two cameras the same, like I have in my case, I have two 6s and two 7s, I can do it by serial number as well. Okay? So you can decide how you want your pictures imported and do that as like a memory. So you don't have to keep doing it. Okay? So we've got down here some locations to show you where presets and develop settings are. So this will just open up a folder. This will show me where they're stored. This will show me the develop presets. So here's some develop presets. They're kept in these folders in the Finder. Okay. And then we have some resetting the default settings. So these are just click the button and it resets it. So when you do a backup of your catalog, you save all these current settings. So this top bit is on import, what you want it to do. This is now resetting, and in the develop module where presets and things like that are kept. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is just housework. Yeah, housework. Yeah, that's right. Okay, external editing. You have two external editors by keyboard shortcut. Okay, and I use that keyboard shortcut. Okay, when you're in the develop module and you go right click, edit in, you can have third-party programs to do what you want to do, and it'll edit them, what you want to do in the third-party program. However, you can press Control or Command E for edit, and this is this top one. It's always Photoshop, and you can then customize how you want that to go from Lightroom into Photoshop. So I always use the PSD file format as Photoshop file format. You can use TIFF if you wish. The color space, which is the order all the electronic information in Lightroom, is Pro Photo. RGB. You've got other settings there. I always use Pro Photo. It's what they call the largest gamut, the largest amount of information about color in the order. So I preserve that color. And the reason why is I don't want something leaving Lightroom, going to a third-party program, and the colors look differently. And you'll find this background gray that you can see behind this light gray splash panel will be the same gray, and it doesn't matter what color it is. It can be white, it could be pink, it could be orange, it could be light gray, dark gray, it could be black. But every external editor I've got, so On1, Nix Soft, Photomatics, Luminar, Affinity, they've all got this gray color background. And the reason why is when you flip between programs, the image you're looking at, your eyes aren't adjusting to the color. They're all the same. Okay? So I'm keeping the color language, for a better word that everyone will understand, the same across all programs. And I'm keeping the background, and I'll show you how to change the background in a minute. I'm keeping the background the same. So when I flip between programs, because there might be something that I want to do as a specialism, okay? Yeah, Lightroom is great. It's the best all-rounder, but there might be something that you want to particularly do in a particular program for a particular reason. For example, HDR. There are specialist programs out there that does that. Or perhaps you might want to do a time lapse. Does everyone know what a time lapse is?
No.
No. But a time lapse is where it's a quicked up video. So your camera will take a picture every 20 seconds for 3 hours, and it'll give you a 90-second video, and the clouds are streaming really fast past, and the tide's coming in really quickly and going back out again. That's called a time lapse. Well, Lightroom doesn't do that. You need a third-party program to do that. Okay, so you edit one picture, you sync all your edits over that picture, you select those 1,500, 2,000 images, you select them all, edit in your time-lapse program. It brings them all across, all of the images all across. So you go and make a cup of tea and come back. But because both programs are talking the same color language and the same file format, it keeps everything all nice and tidy, and everything looks the same and so on. And then you then go create video, and it creates a video with lots of options. And once you create the video, go save, and it brings it back into Lightroom. Okay.
So what would you do that in? Can you do that in Photoshop, or is it something else, another program?
Photoshop does do that. I've got one, but it's not. It's LR Time Lapse. It's called. It's not on this login. So that's one. It's about 180 quid to buy, but well worth it. I only use it every now and then, so but it is worth to buy. There are several specialist programs out there. Photomatics. We've got a whole 2 weeks on Photomatics towards the summer. And Photomatics is the bee's knees for HDR. So if you're a real estate, for example, you know, an estate agent, you will probably use or an estate agent photographer, you'll probably use Photomatics. There is so much more control in each blending of each image in Photomatics compared to Lightroom and Photoshop. It's a specialist program. It's not expensive, about 70 quid, but I use it quite a bit. So I prefer Photomatics for the unique customization that you can get compared to Photoshop or Lightroom. So it's so much easier. But anyway, it's personal choice. No right or wrong answer. So up here, you've got bit depth, which is 16 channels or 16 bits compared to 8-bit. 16 holds double the amount of information. You have the file size will be double the size. But when you're in RAW, you want to get as maximum amount of quality, because you can always go down. It's difficult to go up, although there is software now that you can go up, and that is in Lightroom and Photoshop as well. Resolution is 300 dots per inch. That is what you print at. You print at 300. You don't need to go above it, but you print at 300 dots per inch. Okay, so resolution of 300. So this section here is just about customizing the relationship between Lightroom and Photoshop. That's it, simple as that. This one below, it's the additional external editor. You can choose any editor that you want installed on your program, on your computer. So I've got On1 Effects on this particular login. And again, it takes it as Photoshop. I'm going to select it as a Pro Photo. It adopts the same color language, 16-bit 300. And there we go. So that's how it's going to take an image from here to On1. And then when I finished in that third-party application, whatever it is, this box here is ticked, stacked with original. When you go File, Save, it will save the image right next to in the grid view with the original. It won't save it in another third-party location. It saves it when this is ticked, stacked with original. So when you've done your editing in a third-party application and it's made an extra file or something, when you go File, Save, Lightroom remembers where it came from, and it will put the new file next to it. And in Lightroom, they'll appear side by side in the grid view. So to me, that's a tick all the time. Then the bottom drop down is for the new file that it makes. How do you name that file? So in my case, I've got the original file name, whatever it is in Lightroom, and then it does an underscore E for edit, E for external edit, and then it counts. So in this Lightroom, I've done 76 external edits in this catalog. It's just a counter. I know it's E, so it's gone to an external editor, and it's the 76th one on this catalog that I've done it. Straightforward as that. Don't need any more information. I can just look at the file name, and it's telling me E for an external edit, and it's number 76. You might come up with another formula that's suitable for you. It doesn't matter, but that's how you can customize it, by creating a new file name. Okay, everyone all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay. File handling. Extension DNG, which is digital negative. That's Adobe's raw file format. Okay, you can have it lower and uppercase. Lowercase, I put everything lowercase. JPEG previews. Okay, depends on your computer. Medium or full. Now we can embed the preview, the imported preview, into the file, which is normally quite quick. So we'll just embed that, but we can have it alongside embed on the raw file, but just leave that as the fastest option. Then we get to metadata. So keywords, how do you want to separate keywords? The usual is just put a comma. But you can, different workflows, historic workflows has allowed you to put forward slash or a full stop, but it's a comma. And a keyword can be more than one word. Okay, so John Smith, comma, John Smith is the keyword. Fred blogs, comma, Fred blogs is the but you might put Fred, comma, that's the keyword. Blogs, comma, that's the keyword. Okay, so you're separating them with the comma. I think we'll leave that one for the minute. Interface. Okay, so interface. This is the interface, what's round the outside. And you can panels. These are panels down this side and down the right side. I can't show you. Yes, I can. So let's go back there. So these are panels down the side, and you can put a logo here, like I've got here. That's what it's done. Size of writing, lights out. You know, when you press L for lights out, you can set whether it's black, grey, okay, and then you can set the L and L again. So it'll go lights dim is 80%, lights out means it's all black. You've just got the image. You press L and L again, okay. So we've got the main window, which is where the image is. We can select the grey colour. So there we go, medium grey is the format, which is this colour. There we go, commas, separate keywords. That's the default rather than spaces. Autocomplete keywords. So if you've typed in, very much like Microsoft Office, if you start typing a word in Lightroom, it gets the light. Oh, you've typed Lightroom before. It'll give you the rest of room. You just press Tab or Return, and it'll automatically fill in the rest of the word for you. It's up to you whether you are a typist or not. You can do that. Badges on your film strip. Film strip is the bit that goes along the bottom of the screen. So badges, which are little icons that are things like metadata needs updating and so on, that will show them. Let's have a look. Show pick rate and labels, so stars and picks, show those. You can turn all these off. If you don't use them, you can turn them off. Stacking, we haven't really ever talked about stacking, but I'll talk about that this time. You can stack multiple images together. So for example, if you did a panoramic or an HDR, you got 20 images. Rather than having 20 images in a line, you can have one stack, like a playing card. And when you do that, it will show you how many images are in the stack. So you tick that. Let's have a look. Let's see what else we can go here while we're here. Okay, show index number. When you're in grid view, there's a little hologram, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's how many images are in that grid view. I think, well, auto syncing, yeah, auto sync on notification, we'll leave that. Okay, so performance, just leave it on auto, let the computer do it for you. Cache, which is the working memory. I think it has about 3 gig. I've put mine up to 5. You can purge it so it cleans it. Video cache, how much will it put into its memory? You know, like when you buffer on a video on the internet, this is how much you allow it to download. Let's have a look. Hover over loop enabled. So when you, in the develop module, you draw a square, it'll enlarge it, but we'll look at that. Optimizing catalog, puts everything in the same order. You should do that when you back up, and I'll show you that a little bit later, and go to catalog settings. Okay, so really these are all things that you once you've ticked it up how you want your Lightroom to work, and I will go through these. I will show you this when I actually show you something. I'll go, this is the tick box to do it. So as we go through things, we will come back to these menus. Syncing Lightroom. So this is how many photographs got synced in the cloud. There is my Adobe Lightroom ID for this. Prevent it going to sleep while it's syncing so it doesn't shut down the screen and log you out. This is the location of where the image is going to come from your mobile phone. And this is the format of when it comes in from the cloud, it puts it into a folder first for the year, and then it puts it into another folder underneath it, the year, month, and date. And this button here, box here, tells me the sync activity, what's happening. Nothing happening. Okay, display, if you can have multiple displays. And network, if you're on a network, you need a network login for administration rights. So for example, you've got videos on a network drive and so on, and you need the username and password. That's where it's stored. So these are preferences that you set up once, and you will adjust them as your workflow desires, and then you'll forget about them basically. Any questions?
No. No.
Okay, catalog settings. So that was under File for Windows or Lightroom Control. This is the under General. This is the location where the catalog is. There you go. Go Show. There's the catalog files. This one here. This is your catalog. These are previews and help files, etc. and so on. Name of the file, when it was created, when it was last backed up, when it was last optimized, the size of the file. This one down in the bottom, the backup drop down, is actually quite important. Now, unless you're obsessed with photography like I am, once a week is more than adequate for you. It does not, and I underline the word not, back up your photographs. This is backing up the catalogue, all the adjustments, the metadata, the previews, the pick flags, the stars. That is what it is backing up. It's creating a second copy. It is not backing up your photographs. That is something totally separate, and Lightroom does not do that. Okay, this is just your working catalogue. All the information that allows you to manage, preserve, and adjust your images are in the catalogue. Okay, so once a week, it'll ask you, do you want to back that catalogue up? And as a rule of thumb, you put it on an external drive or something in the cloud that if your computer goes down that's got your catalogue on it, so you don't put it on your main drive, you might put it on an external USB drive or something like that, or you put it into Dropbox or the Creative Cloud or something like that. So when your drive fails, which it will fail at some point, you've got it on another drive that you can just import the backup or expand the backup, unzip the backup, and you're back up and running again. Now, for me, this does this once a day. Okay, every day that I'm in around about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when I exit Lightroom, because Lightroom opens up every morning, when I finish the day, it will ask me to back up. And mine takes about half an hour to back up. I've got millions of or thousands of photographs. Okay, so but for most of you, it'll be once a week. Okay, file handling. My cache, which is the data that I'll store, in this case is 10 gig. Standard previews. Now, a preview, there's 2 types of preview. There's a smart preview and a normal preview, okay, standard preview. And this is the size of preview, okay? All right, so you can have it 1,000 pixels, 1,400 pixels, 1,600, 2,000, 2,800, or in my case, 5,120. And the reason why I have 5,120 is I've got a 4K monitor. Okay, that means I can see my image full screen at 100% without doing anything. Okay, so if you've got something like about a 30 megapixel camera, if you had a 4K monitor, you wouldn't need to zoom in and zoom out of your, looking at a smaller part of the screen, because my whole screen is 100%. Therefore, I want my preview to be 100%, which is there. But if you've got an older camera or a smaller screen, you might want your previews to be half the size or a quarter of the size. Okay, and that's where you select as your default. You can rebuild previews and so on. Okay, that's where it is there. Then we got quality, high, medium, and low. And then one-to-one previews. If you haven't got a big monitor like I have, you can actually build a one-to-one preview. So it's giving you a life-size picture for your screen. But you only might want that for when you're editing that image. So you can discard, Lightroom will automatically discard, and I will show you next week how to create one-to-one previews. It's really, really simple. So you, rather than you going in your grid view, you've got all your thumbnails, you click on an image and then it generates the preview. It's already generated that one-to-one preview. So there's no lag in operation. And very much so when you're going through culling, so you're going left, left, right, right, going through your images, it's rendering the screen, or it's rendering the preview. And if you've got 5,000 images, you just want to go click to the right, 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 and go through them all. Well, if you're waiting for the screen to render or Lightroom to render, it might be 3 or 4 seconds between each photograph until you get it pin sharp 100%. Well, you can create one-to-one previews, and it's created those images, those previews. You don't have to wait for it to render. But what happens is 1 day later, 1 week later, 30 days later, or never, it will delete them, the previews, the one-to-one previews. Okay? Does that make sense? Or a lot of this will drop more into place. This is just where things are, okay? Any questions?
No.
All right, okay. Metadata, what should we talk about metadata? I think we'll leave the top one for editing. Lookup, okay. So if you've got GPS enabled on your phone or your camera, Lightroom will take the GPS coordinates and populate in the metadata. So we come down to here, and if we had an image location, we haven't got an image selected. Let's select an image mark. So let's take that image there. It will populate this information here. If this had GPS, which would appear here, it would put the address in there automatically for me. If I've got that box there ticked. Okay. Face ID, any faces, it'll automatically learn from the faces and will put the faces together. So if you, you've got to run it first time, and then you've got to, it doesn't know who they are until you start telling them who they are. The more you tell them, the more accurate it gets. And then all of a sudden, oh, Jesus, 37,000 faces already done. It's learned from them. Okay, and that's where the automatic face detection is, okay? And you come down to here, and there we go, there's all the faces. So if I start typing in here, see, we've got 2 here, but it doesn't know it's the same person. So if I put in there, Joe, okay, and then I can just drag that across there, there's Joe there, and I type in there Sue, okay, and that's Katrina, okay, there's, see, now it's asking me, is that Joe? Okay, it's asking me, is that Joe? It's not, it's Katrina. So what I now do is click on it and drag it and put it on Katrina. Let's see, look, now look, it says, is this Sue? You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already learned that's Sue. And I've only given it one example. Okay, I can tick the box or just drag it. That's because that box was ticked on. It's learning all the time. It's learning with Face ID. Okay. Right. So that's the last of the catalogue settings. The other stuff I don't think we're really doing there. Okay. This up here, where it says Lightroom Mark, this is called an identity plate. And this is where you can, under Lightroom or Edit, you can personalize your identity plate. You can have it as your Adobe ID. So as you can see there, top left-hand corner, you can have it as Lightroom Classic. It will say that's the 2 standards, or you can personalize it. And you can put a graphic in here, or you can, like I have in my case, I've copied the font, Adobe Clear it's called, and I've mimicked, so it looks both sides the same. You can do whatever you want. You can just leave it. I think it looks professional, but I'm going to change it back at some point. So, okay, so that's identity plate. Watermark is what goes on the image. Okay, Lightroom Mark, and you can do a graphic, and you can do a text. Okay, we will do an evening of how to adjust all your watermark, but you can do them different. And I've, in my work catalogue, I haven't now, not in there. My work catalogue, I've got about 40 different watermarks, different locations, different colors, fonts, texts, you name it. I've got one that says it's got a big draft written across it. Okay, so look, it says draft. You can see it's all opaque, and you can set all that all from down here. Okay, the position, you go top, bottom, and you save them. Okay, so this one here, I can go File, Save as Current as a new preset. Okay, that's where I've got 40 or so or whatever. Okay, so that's a watermark. So when you export it and give it to somebody, it's got this watermark on it. Okay, so that's in up there. We won't go anything through the rest. So that's the first one. File, new catalogue, open a catalogue. That's relatively simple, isn't it? Recent catalogue. So if you've got more than one catalogue, rather than going away and finding it, you just come to recent and they'll have a list there. Well, I've only got one catalogue. Optimize your catalogue. That will go through the database and put them all in the right order, you know, stacking all the plates up nice and neat and tidy on the dryer, on the draining board. Yeah. Or putting them in the dishwasher all the right way down, not putting them on the side by the sink. Yeah, you're being efficient. That's what and you can run optimization, but I do it when I back up. The next part is importing. Okay, so capturing auto import from Photoshop or another catalog. That's there. Import develop presets, so you can import with develop presets applied. Then we've got exporting. That's how we get images, raw images out of Lightroom. Okay, so we can export a file with particular settings. So it could be a size, it could be with a preset applied, it could be with a watermark, and we'll spend a whole night looking at exporting. You can email directly from Lightroom. So once you've got your email settings, your account name, username, username, email address, username and password, and your POP settings, so with the IMAP or POP, you can actually send an email. There we go. I haven't got them in here, but this wouldn't come up usually, this new account. So you select your email provider, you put in all the information, and this is the email dialog. There's the file that I'm sending, and you can email directly from. Okay, you don't have to create a picture, and so, but that's the old legacy way of sharing a photograph. Plugin manager. This is why I love, absolute love, Lightroom. Lightroom allows you to have third-party application, third-party apps, just like your iPhone does or your Android phone does. And it allows you to do things. So export to Facebook, that doesn't work anymore. Mastering keywords is another one. Tethering Nikon cameras, Adobe stock. And it allows Lightroom to talk to third-party programs or services. So you go, this Adobe stock, it'll export it within Lightroom to Adobe, and you just press one button and all of a sudden all your images are up in Adobe for sale. Okay. So this is the plugin manager. We'll spend time looking at the plugin manager. Plugin extras. This is another way of doing different things externally or with a third-party provider. Then we've got collections, filters, page setup and printers. We'll look at those in the printer module. Now, these menus will change for different modules. If I switch between the modules, if you look at the top left-hand corner at the menus, as I go through them, you can see the menus are changing. I'm changing the module, but the menus change. Okay? So there are different menus. So edit, select all the images, select none, invert the selection. So if I've selected 3 and then I want to select all the other 97, but not those 3, that'll invert it. Deselect active image, flag, and so on. We'll go through all of these. Did you know Lightroom's got a spell checker in it? It's also got dictation. It does symbols and emojis. Okay, so all your keywords and your metadata, you can actually check the spelling and grammar. Brilliant for me, because I keep missing the letter R off the word your, keep putting you. Okay, so that's all in here. It's really it's a really powerful program, Lightroom. Yes, I know it's 10 quid a month and so on, but it's really, really powerful if you spend time to learn what it does. And it can speed up your workflow. You know, you go out on a photo shoot, take 3,000 photographs of a wedding or something, and you spend an hour in Lightroom afterwards, and everything's done. Little bit of organization beforehand, a little bit of management, and it batch applies to everything. So collections, smart collections, new folders, filters, filtering by color, flag, labels, and so on. We'll go into this renaming photographs. You can rename all your photographs, convert Canon RAW files to Adobe RAW files, find your missing photographs, make sure that the DNG is validated, synchronized folders, look up at faces, previews. This is where you build and discard your previews or smart previews we touched on just earlier. Plug-in extras, there's some more plugins here. So yeah, it goes on. But so this is photo menus, so photo merging, HDRs, panoramics, panoramic HDR. Enhancing. Enhance is a new function that's come across from Lightroom. Basically, it takes each pixel, and this is basically, it takes each pixel, each little tiny dot, and replicates it 9 times all the way around. So you get one dot in the middle, it replicates it above and all the way around the outside. So it's making the image bigger, more sharper, and so on. And that's enhancing. And it's a very basic layman term, the way I said that. Where was I? Enhanced stacking, which is stacking a group of images together, looking for people. Virtual copies. Who knows what virtual copies are? You should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Virtual copy in Photoshop, Helen, don't you? You want to create a second picture or a second file, you have to create a second file, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so you've got 2 files. So if the file is 64 meg, you've taken up 128 meg. With Lightroom, you create what they call a virtual copy. And all it does, it copies the line in the database. Because Lightroom is a non-destructive program, so let me go, let's have a look. Okay, so we've got this image here. It's a black and white picture, yeah? But if I go right click, show in Finder, there's the raw file, it's in color. Oops. You see it's in color? Yeah? I don't know if I can make it any bigger. Let's see if I can open it with Photoshop. Wait for it to open Photoshop. Okay, so there's the file in Photoshop. It's a color file. Okay. But there we go. In Lightroom. And it's black and white. Because what happens is, if I go back down, there it is. That's the imported file, but these are all the adjustments. These adjustments are in the catalogue, and it's applying them as a filter on top of the catalogue, on top of the original image. So it's a non-destructive workflow. Okay. So that, and a virtual copy, if I wanted to create another one, so okay, so I've got there, so I'm going to go right click and I'm going to go create virtual copy, and it's created from that point in the history, it's created a second copy. Now I can do something totally separate with it. So I can make this one a lot darker. I can open up the shadows. I'm going to use a selection tool, going to add a brush, going to paint in here. I'm going to make that a bit brighter. Okay, so now we can see this here. So now if I go back to G, you can see I've got a little turnover in the corner. And now I'm going to go N for survey mode. Okay, look, so there's my first one. It's darker here. Now if I come to this one, it's brighter. But I haven't created a second file. I've created a virtual copy. Okay, so Lightroom runs quicker, you're not using up more disk space, and so on. Okay, and that's what virtual copies are. Okay, so photos, so you can rotate them, flip them, set flags, ratings, and we'll go through this, color labels, auto advanced, we'll go through that. Add keywords, develop settings, remove. This is all straightforward language. You know, remove a photograph, delete a photograph. Remove removes it from the catalogue. Delete deletes it from the hard drive and the catalogue. So here we've got metadata. So this is all about metadata presets, and we'll talk about that, importing keywords, exporting, purging, getting rid of unused keywords, copying metadata, it's anything there. Viewing, show toolbar, so toolbars at the top. Lock toolbar 100%, increase size, decrease, all this is straightforward. Here, this is something really get to know. G for grid, E for loop. So G for grid, E for loop is full, G, okay. Keyboard shortcut N for survey. So you could have selection of images. So I've got 4 images there. Press N, they got 5 images. They all come up on the screen. N for survey, G for grid, E for loop. Okay. So it brings it back. I press the G. So Command D for deselect, Command A for select all. These are all keyboard shortcuts you should really get to know to use. People is O, survey N, compare is C. And then again, go to develop module. So if you want to take that image to develop, you can either go up here and press the develop module icon at the top, or press the letter D. It takes you to develop module. Okay. G takes you back. All right, and you just get to know these by using them. This bit down at the bottom here is the information that you see in the view. So this is totally customizable, and you can double click here and change it. So this is file name and copy. So you can change whatever you want in these positions. So there is crop dimensions. Okay, that's the size, 4,288 pixels by 2,048 pixels. 12 megabytes, that's the size of the file. So it's just, you can customize totally this. Same down the bottom, you can customize this. This is the color label. This is the star rating. This is the rotator. You can customize all of this how you want it to look. And you do that by going here. Okay, so view options. So this is in grid view. So you can tell it what you want. There's the 4 boxes. So copy name was the top one. Top right, file extension. If I change that just to file name. There you go. There's the file name. That's what it's called. And there's the DNG. Okay. So I want to put copy name. There you go. There's the copy name. So it's gone off the end a little bit because file name and copy name, it's quite a long, so it's covering over the DNG, but this one isn't. Okay. So you can choose what you want, where you want. Flags, do you want flags shown? Do you want whether it's a quick collection, colors? You can tick whatever you want here. And then loop view is in this view here. So when we press I for information, so if I come back out of here, right, there's the image. If I press the letter I, it rotates this information here. And you can customize this to show what information you want. So loop view. Okay, loop view. Info 1, that's the first time you press I. Info 2, this is this bit here. And you can customize loop 1, info 1, loop 2, info 2. You can decide what you want here. You just select from the drop downs. So when you press I, in my case, it comes up with the file name and the copy name. It comes up with 250 the second at f8, 200 ISO. And then it comes out with shot at 200 millimeters with this lens, 70 to 200, 2.8. That's it. Press I again. It was taken on the, and again, I've selected this 28th of 12, 2008 at nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's the file size. So it's just there. Immediately I can see all that information by pressing the letter I, and you can customize that. So you look at a picture and go, is that picture sharp? Not quite sure. Oh, it was only taken at 40th of a second. No, that won't be sharp. Yeah, I can immediately tell from the shutter speed if it will be, this train's coming along, is that a sharp picture? Would it have frozen the image? I can tell by, rather than coming across here and looking in the IPTC data, the EXIF data, all right? There, it's all coming from here, 200 ISO, there we go, 250 second at f8. That's where it's coming. Rather than going there, I just press the letter I and it comes up. Okay, but you can decide what you want put in there. Windows, so modules, screen modes, so you can have full screen, you can have screen without menus at the top, previews, you can panels, that's either side. You can customize. You can, if you've got a Mac, you can link it to your iPad, so that's a second screen. You can do tons of things. Then you got help. So you've got tons of help here with videos and plugins, and everything you want is all there. Okay. So 5 more minutes, and then it's any questions. These are panels down the side. Navigator is a small window. We've got a drop down fit, 100%. 800%. You can change these if you want, 100%. So if I turn this on here, by moving, getting that out. See, look, that picture now is at 100%, or very nearly. If I get rid of that panel, that's 100%, having a big screen. But I wouldn't expect you to spend £1,600–1,700 on a screen. Okay, so I'm looking at time, doing things quickly. So that's the navigator. You can look in, you can draw into particular areas if you want. So I'm going to have a look at that area on the screen. Yeah, I can move it around, I can drag it around. Okay, with the navigator. Catalogue. Press space and it recenters everything. Catalogue, how many pictures I've got in here. And I was asked a question today, how do I find my missing photographs? So what you can do is you go to library, he says. This is under library. There we go, find all missing photographs. And it'll run and it'll give you in this catalogue your missing photographs. And I've got one missing photograph. Can you see this little exclamation mark there? It's been deleted outside of Lightroom. So if I just press the delete button, it will now remove it. And I've got no missing photos now. So that's in this section here. Folders, that's where you keep your images. And there's a little search bar and it's looking for the folder. So if I want to look for a folder that's got 2008 in it, there we go. 2 folders with 2008 in it. You search in this bar here. That's a relatively new functionality. Collections. That is where you bring images from different dates, different locations. So there's a load of Exmoor Pony images. They were taken at different days. So, for example, this was 2013, 2013, 2013, 2015, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, but they were on different days. So they've been taken on different days and I brought them together and put them in a collection. Okay, that's what a collection is. Published services is when you want to physically put something on an app or on a third-party website or something like that, or perhaps an agency, and they will have a plugin that you can just click on, press publish, and it will send it and it will do it how they want it done. You haven't got to worry about anything. We'll quickly look at this panel in the next Q&As. Okay, in the library module, we've got histogram. So there's your histogram. Quick develop. So we could take this photograph here, hit quick develop, and it'll do auto. And there we go. It's done an auto develop on this picture here. You can do some very, very quick adjustments. So you can make the exposure. And this is within the library module, not the develop module. So you've got some quick adjustments there. Keywording. So you add keywords so you can find images and other people can find them. Keyword lists, that's a list of all your keywords. We will do a whole evening on keywording and metadata and so on in 2 weeks' time. So metadata, that is several different technical data about the image. So it could be description, keywords, title, author's details, where it was shot, when it was shot, what equipment it was. That's all under metadata. And you can have presets for that. That's how you speed it up. And then comments, if you put them up on the web, people can leave comments and they come back in Lightroom, just like on Facebook. So it's a lot to take in tonight. That's an hour. Does anyone want me to go back over anything very quickly, what I've just said? The recording will be available tomorrow. If not, Q&A time.
All silent.
All silent. Remember, I have been using Lightroom since version 2. We are on version 11 now, and I use it every single day. And there is not one person that knows everything about Lightroom, not even at Adobe. You know, Julianne Koss, I would say, what's his name? Terry White, Scott Kelby, Matt Koskowski, Laura Shue, Victoria Bampton. They probably know the most as users in the world. But there's always things that you find out, and because Adobe don't tell you, you know, short keyboard cuts and so on, etc. There's always something. Okay, so it's using it, and I say, what do I say, Joe? Not listening. What do I say? Help? Yes, I know you're saying help. She's frozen now. Definitely need to screenshot that one, don't we?
Hey.
What do I say?
Use it or lose it?
Yeah, not far wrong. But, no, every day.
Which one are you talking about?
What, every day.
10 minutes.
10 minutes every day. If you
and for us ladies, the grey time.
Great time.
Very important to do it in the grey time.
Yeah. So
we've been teased about this for nearly 4 years now, about how we don't actually have grey time. That's a male thing.
Yeah, so when you're driving, it's grey time. It's unproductive time. So I listen to something productive, like a podcast or something or whatever. So if I'm on the train, I'm doing something productive. So I call that grey time, when you're doing a single task that you could be doing something else at the same time. So for example, you're doing the ironing, you can watch you can watch the TV at the same time, or listen to the radio or whatever. That's grey time. It's something that you can do. You hasn't got all your attention. So you could have a cup of coffee by doing something in Lightroom. Okay, that's what I mean by grey time. You sit down and have a cup of coffee. We'll do 10 minutes of Lightroom, or keywording, or picking, or flag. They call that culling. Picking, flags, colour labels, and so on. So have a cup of coffee, sit down, and just do 10 minutes of it. You'll be amazed how much you get done in that every 10 minutes. And because you're doing it every day, I can't remember what I did yesterday lunchtime. I was probably enjoying myself, you know, I don't know, run off around the world with a beautiful young lady or something like that. You know, I can't remember what I did yesterday, but we can all remember what we did yesterday. If you leave it for a week, you go, oh shit, how do you do that? I've forgotten. I haven't known it for a week. So rather than spending an hour on a Sunday doing it, just do 10 minutes and you'll build and build and build and build and build. And you'll just add one thing or get efficient or effective with those things. So, you know, just power it up to, and bear in mind, if you've got your images in the cloud, you can do it on your phone, pick and reject them and so on, and it comes all back to Lightroom Classic. So, so who's got any problems and questions about Lightroom Classic or Lightroom? Come on,
I was trying to just add like a new keyword, say different flare names or something like that.
Yep.
And I couldn't to select it to put it into another one. I could never get back to the, say, like the one before you've just chosen, or I don't know. Perhaps I'm doing it the wrong way.
What? So you want to add another keyword to another image?
Yeah, but I might sort of, a different image. I might want to go back to one that I've used, say, a couple of times ago or something, and I could.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's no problem. Okay. So, right. Let me give you one overrider. We're all different. We all do things a different way. Okay? There is not one right way of doing something. Okay? There is our way of doing something. So when we get to keywording, there are a multitude of ways of applying keywords. It's what your, for a better word, mentality, your workflow, you can understand. So, Joe, I don't think will mind me saying this. We went to Selworthy Church one night. There was Karen, Katrina, I think, came, Joe and myself, and we're taking a picture of the International Space Station. So, and I just go, click, boom, one shot, that's it, I've captured the information. Well, Joe nearly threw her Canon across the car park because she's got so frustrated she couldn't do it. She couldn't capture the image that she could see and so on, etc. And I thought that it was possibly the user interface. Anyway, so I lent her my daughter's D600 and we went down to Robbers Bridge a few weeks later, and she understood the buttons, etc. and so on. It was doing the same things, but a different way. Okay? So it's how we interact with this technology. Do we understand this? And technology changes. So keywords, to answer your question, okay? There's more than one way to do it. So if I wanted to add a keyword to this image, I could just go to keyword. I could type it in here. Okay? Sunny day.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And I've just added it. I can press G. I can now go to that image and type it in there. Sunny day. Okay, so now I've got them applied to both images. Go back to that one. I can go to that one. But what I could do is I could go to paintbrush down the bottom here, keyword, and I could type in sunny day into here. So there it is there, sunny day, keyword. I've now got a spray can. It's now added sunny day to that picture. Now added sunny day to that one. It's now added sunny day to that one.
That's easy.
I know it is. And then you put the paint can back there. Okay?
Yeah.
So there's more than one way of doing it. Then you've got keyword sets. Then you've got keyword lists. So I could go to the list and I can drag the keyword. I could select multiple keywords and drag them and drop them on images. I could do it to one image, then select the other images and go sync keywords. Okay, so there's all these different ways of doing it. It's understanding your workflow. And when I do a class on mastering keywording, it's not just what the keywords are and how to apply them. It's when to apply them and what ways to apply them to speed up your workflow. So, for example, I now create keyword sets of 9 keywords. And when I batch import some pictures of Exmoor ponies, it applies all the keywords to them automatically.
Right.
So on import, all my images are keyworded, metadataed, put in a collection, synced into the cloud, all at one click of one button. It's done it all for me because I've worked out a workflow of speeding it up. So if I went out and took 300 images, generic images of Exmoor ponies, they would all be keyworded, they'd all be put in a collection, they'd all be in the cloud, they'd all be in my mobile phone or my iPad, ready for me to cull them. And then the only thing I would then do is once I've culled them, picked and rejected them, and I've got maybe, let's say 20 images, I then put in the individual keywords that are relevant to those images. Bear in mind the generic keywords of Exmoor ponies. So Exmoor wildlife. Sorry?
That's what I was trying to do, but I couldn't seem to select you know, another keyword. I sort of added a keyword. I think I'm probably doing it in the wrong mode or something.
Okay, so in grid view, and then you then just literally, you have what they call an active image. Okay, so that image here, because it's light grey, it's my active image, and whatever you're doing to that image. Okay, that image there is now my active image. If you look at the keywords, as I jump between them, they change. Okay, this one's got landscape, this one hasn't, because it's highlighted here. And there's some keywords presets. Okay, so if I wanted to add, so I'm going to set that, I can add all these keywords. These are in my memories presets. And I've just added all those keywords by clicking on them to that image. Okay.
How do you add that preset to?
Okay, so that's another thing. Under metadata, keyword sets, they're here. So you create a keyword set. Okay. Right, and then you have this drop-down list, and you can just click on edit. So if I now go metadata, edit preset, sorry, wrong one. Metadata, keyword set. If I take this, so dogs, I can then create a new one, edit, there it is. But what I now do is go to the drop-down, save cat to a new one. So if I call this dogs, cats, so I'm now going to go save as a new one, call it cats, dogs 2, create, and what's in there is now these ones. Okay, whatever was in the boxes, there's dog cats, there's dog cats 2. I've just created a new preset.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, and now I could say that those are active images. See, look, they're all selected there, that range. I've added cat to all of those 4 images. Okay, I've now added domestic cat to those 4 images.
How did you actually add it though?
I just clicked on it. Just clicked on it.
Oh, just click on it.
Just click on it, dog. There you go. I've just added dog to all those images. But I could do the same by using this and go, click. I've just added sunny day to all 4 of those images. Okay, I've done exactly the same thing, but I've done it a different way. I could just type it in here. Okay, so I could just type in there, comma, Father Christmas. Okay, press return. I've added Father Christmas to those 4 images because they're active, because they're highlighted. Now you might see there's little asterisks. Those asterisks saying I've got multiple images, but some of them haven't got landscape 2 or flower and plant 2. So that asterisk is telling me not all of them have got the same keywords.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's not one way of adding keywords. There's not one way and one hard rule. That all there is this is the way I do it, and this is the reason why I do it. Does that fit into your workflow? And why I love doing these on a Monday night, because you ask me questions and I have to examine and I challenge. I go, oh, that was a good idea, Tony. If I change my workflow to do that and that, that's just saved me 1/4 of an hour per 10,000 images. Bearing in mind, I've got 600,000 images and still counting on my drive. If I can shave 1/4 of an hour off every 10,000 images, that's 100 hours I've just saved by examining the way I do things. Yeah. So I've built up this knowledge of 20 years or 15 years or whatever it is in importing keywords, modifying it, adjusting it, looking at it. And now I can import 3,000 images from a day's photo shoot in 3 or 4 batches, all of them are keyworded, all of them are metadataed as a generic statement. They're all in the cloud. I can then, when the first one's done, I can go away and sit down with a cup of tea with my phone or my iPad and go through culling them while it's importing the second lot. And by the time I've come back and the second lot's done, I've already culled the first lot, got rid of them all, chosen the ones I want, and I'm now down to the last 18 images that I'm going to edit. I edit one of them, sync them, and that's it done. It's really, really quick and easy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions? Anyone else? Anyone else needs help with anything? Okay.
Oh, lot, I think.
Okay. So one little piece of advice: create a training catalogue. Just put some images that you take with your camera and your phone in them, that it isn't synced in the cloud, that you can mess around with. Okay, call it training, call your normal one master or something like that, right? So you've got all your images in master. It's not that you can't undo it, you just learn the way and just sit there and play. You can't break it.
I can't find half the tools.
Press 2.
You know, when you want to do something like with the masking and stuff. And...
That's in the develop module. We'll do that another week. So they're all up the top.
Okay.
They're at the top underneath the histogram. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay, recording will be up tomorrow.
Sorry?
The recording will be up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right?
Yes.
And hopefully see some of you on Wednesday.
Thank you.
See you
Take care.
Wednesday.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.